Welcome to another Triathlon podcast, the podcast that brings the electrifying world of triathlons right into your headphones. Journey into captivating conversations, share the excitement of race recaps, enjoy the humor only a triathlete would understand, and join us as we debunk myths and bring you the bare, thrilling truths of the triathlon world. So feel your heart pound, breathe in anticipation, and get ready to dive into the world of triathlon. This is another Triathlon podcast. Enjoy the ride.
And we are back with another Triathlon podcast brought to you by Mauna Endurance. Now, this week's going to look a little different. It feels like it's been forever since we've had a weekend without any major pro racing going on, but we've still got lots of fun planned for you. We've got an interview with one of our Mauna teammates, Hope, who just had an incredible first Ironman performance. She'll be on chat about her experience. And then we're also going to dive into our What the F and social media posts of the week and make some predictions because there's actually some decent names racing over this weekend in the 70.3 and Ironman distance. But first off, we've got to catch up on what's going on with our own training and racing with myself, my co-host Fede, and Josh. And let's start with Josh, who has a shiny new marathon PR. How'd it go out there?
And it was everything that I kind of expected, hoped for, everything I trained for, the emotions of being at a Marine Corps marathon. Really, everything just came together. And you hear people talk about like they're out there racing and you're out of body experience and you're just kind of floating along through the day. And it really, after the first couple miles of shaking out the 15,000 people that you're running with and some people running 6-hour pace in front of you in the 3-hour pace groups. You shake around them and the hand cyclists and all that. And you just kind of get into your groove and nutrition and everything just went great. And it literally felt like I was floating through most of the day. And then I hit that 20-mile mark and I was like, okay, where is that moment? And I just kept going. And the only thing I would say that kind of went wrong all day was I dropped my third salt packet. So I packed three packets to take one every hour, really, to get my sodium and electrolytes in. And one of them dropped at one of those points. So I didn't have the third one. All that meant is I just kind of adjusted and hit the water stations with the noon and hit a little bit more of the food stations that carried some sodium. And they had that all lined up. It was really, really inspiring to get handed your nutrition and your water by Marines. And just the whole day, there's that whole mile called the Blue Mile where you're running through. And it's just posters of all of these Marine faces who have lost and their ages. And you start somewhat trying to look at that stuff as you're running and it's 19-year-olds and 22-year-olds and 23-year-olds. And some of them have their family members standing there and you're doing a tour of the whole city and the nation's capital. And it's unbelievable. And I just got in a groove and I looked at my heart rate and it never went up. It didn't fluctuate much all day. A couple of the hills and that was about it. And it was just, I don't know what it was. It just seemed like everything all week went right. My recovery was like 90 to 95% every day, except for the day I traveled. And I stayed off my feet. I used recovery stuff with compression boots and super hydrated. So a lot of people were bunking and a lot of people ended up in the hospital, I heard. The heat got up and the humidity was up. But everything I'd done to prepare for that came through and it worked. And I never once felt any adverse effects of any of that and got to that last hill up to the finish line, up to the Marine Corps Memorial statue. And you're literally lined with Marines and getting handed a medal by Marines. And I pulled the Fred Funk. I paused at the end to get a better finish line video. And let the girl in front of me cross. So I had a clearing. And then we look at my time and it's 3:33:34.
Come on.
3:33:33. Now, coming off of 4:35:53 a month and a half ago and shooting for a 3:45 3:33 was awesome. And now it puts me back into that confidence level of going for that sub 3:20 and qualifying for Boston in the next few years. So a lot of work to be done, but this was an awesome step, confidence-wise, execution-wise. Everything that we talk about on the podcast just worked that day. And I didn't try anything really new except for my race laces. That was it.
Yeah.
And it was probably the first long run I've gone on where my feet didn't get a little numb at some point. And
Good.
that just all worked out too. And go on Cloud Boom Echo 3s. That was another
They are good. Yeah.
huge benefit. So, and I ran by the on booth about mile 23 and they were all psyched to see me. And it was just an awesome day all around, being a part of that crowd, being part of a bigger marathon experience. And my college roommate's wife was out there with her kids, didn't expect to see them. And
Cool.
I hadn't seen her since their wedding day in 2015. So it was just really, really cool. Ran into some Mauna teammates, ran into some Athletic Brewing teammates, and just really nice. I mean, it's everything you get to experience in triathlon, but with a bigger scope for one day, and with the streets lined. And I feel like I had an advantage as a triathlete, though, when it comes to nutrition and everything else. And I just kept saying that to myself during the day. I was like, all these people are struggling, and people mile 5 already stretching. And I was like, oh, man.
Oh, that makes for a long day.
And then I finished, and the sun came out, and it was like, oh, and it got real hot real quick. But it was awesome. Janine was out there at like mile 14, saw her again around mile 20. And then she was right at the finish line, shoot at the top of the hill, and just really special. She had finished her longest race. She did the 10K and then came and met me. And now she's got next weekend at Disney. I'm going to do the half, but it'll be a nice little victory lap half while I'm running with her, and she's going to do the 10K and half. So it's just an awesome way to get into the off season and go from there.
No, that's incredible. Especially like going more than 10 minutes faster than your goal time is massive. Like that just doesn't happen. So you absolutely executed it perfectly. Obviously didn't start out too fast, your race pace, but that is so good to hear. You've put in all the time, all the effort, all the training, and for it to pay off and you to race it smart in tough conditions too, really just speaks to all of that. So congratulations. That's absolutely massive.
Thank you. Yep. Yeah, I think I got on my race pace at like mile 4. I was at that 8:20 per mile pace. And that's where we had finally caught up from the congestion. And it just never got hard. And the heart rate was low. And I was like, all right, we got to push these 750 miles. I was like, wait. And then I started running 755s and like, this is awesome. And then my Garmin told me I ran a 5:57 somewhere in like the mile 23 range. And I was like, everything was on point all day. And then my technology went on me there. But that just means the Garmin file is a little corrupt. But other than that,
lucky in there.
just awesome, dude.
Oh, congratulations. That's the best feeling when it feels like you're just floating along and you can go forever. That when you hit that state of flow, there is nothing like it. It's almost indescribable. So sounds like you absolutely nailed it. And we're so excited and so proud of you. And you are definitely well on your way to that Boston qualification, no doubt.
I appreciate it. Thank you. It was cool to see all the chat going on and everyone that was following and having an app. And so many people reached out, which is really cool. And I was given this bib by an old roommate of mine, and he wanted to play golf more than he wanted to run at this point.
There we go.
You can go, Fatty.
That is language there.
So he had been deferred during COVID. He handed it to me, and then he reached out to me and congratulated me all weekend, and then told me that he is now 7 months sober too. So just something that he had been inspired by everything I've been doing, and now I'm 4.5 months without having a drink, and he took it upon himself to follow my training, and then on top of it, stop drinking. And now he's thanking me. And I was like, no, you're the one who started this. You gave me the bib. So a lot of those types of moments, and you never know who's watching. And that's why I keep posting a lot of stuff on social media, because you never know who it's inspiring. I use it as accountability and a lot of other things.
Absolutely incredible. Well, going from there, let's jump over to Fede. Whereabouts in the world are you right now?
Hey guys. First of all, apologies to the listeners. There's a little bit of background noise. I am in the country of Chile, Philip's homeland and a few other Mauna athletes' homeland. I'm here for the Pan Am Games. My little sister is competing here, and she plays softball, so just cheering her on and making sure she's taken care of and supporting and everything. Uh, but yeah, I mean, first of all, congrats, Josh. That's amazing, and I know that BQ is going to come 2024. That's for sure. Who knows? I was jealous hearing your recap because that feeling of just things being easy doesn't come around often for me. So just I'm happy you cherished the moment and you enjoyed it. And on my end, there's been a lot of treadmill running at the hotel, a lot of those little bicycles they have set up at hotel rooms that are a little weird. That you're like almost laying over and almost like laying flat on the floor, and the pedals are above your whatever your waistline. Uh, those
Yeah, the recumbent.
yeah, those ones a little weird, and not a lot of swimming. There's not a pool at the hotel, so I just had to golf instead. So uh, yeah, I've been taking it easy this week and making sure I enjoy the all the disciplines and all the events here at the Pan Am Games. So pretty quiet week for me. So yeah, nothing too fancy. What about you, Jenna? How's your training going? How's your recovery going after Kona?
Well, the recovery from Kona was easy.
But still, I mean,
That kind
still the heat is a heat, and even if you spend 30 minutes there, it takes a toll.
Yeah, it was more the being sick that took a while to recover from, but feeling better and back to 100% now. And I'm doing all that stuff that I say I don't like to do and going short and fast these days. So switching up the training completely. And it has been so much fun to do something different. Like it's been an Ironman focus for the last few years. And next year, probably my longest bike ride will be an hour, an hour 10 if things go well in my races. So it's a whole different ball game right now. And I've been having so much fun. Like all of my training right now is kind of between 10 and 40-second efforts on the high end and then some threshold work. So it's all of the stuff I don't usually do or try to avoid, to be honest. But it's been a blast just to switch up and realize that my hamstrings can burn like this. There's been a lot of fast running, which I have not done in a very long time. Like, oh, I can actually feel those hamstrings going. So yeah, it's fun just to mix it up, do something different. I've got the Laguna Phuket Duathlon coming up in Thailand in like 3 weeks. Yeah, it's coming up fast. So I'll head over there. It's going to be even hotter, even more humid than Kona with a little less time to adapt for this one, but it should be fun. This race, I've seen it forever and I've always wanted to do it. I've got a bunch of friends that always do it. So going to head up there and finally give it a try, especially now that they have a duathlon and I don't have to swim. So I'm good with that. And then after that, take pretty much go into off season, but I'll go do Indian Wells off of whatever I've got there. Just go have some fun and meet up with the team. And we've got, last count, almost 40 members of Mauna Endurance coming out to race with us at Ironman Indian Wells 70.3. So if you want to join in on the fun, there's only a few spots left for the race. Come out. We're going to have a blast with the Mauna team. And if you're not part of the team, I always like to meet new people anyways. So come down there if you can. And if you want to join the team, applications are open here right now. So everyone's welcome from all different backgrounds. You don't have to be super speedy, front of the pack to join us in there. We're a community team that just supports each other, has some fun, bit of trash talk, and a lot of support and motivation in there too. So go check out Mauna Endurance. But yeah, that's about it for me. Just switching up, not doing 20-mile runs or 6-hour bikes in the pain cave. I feel like I've got all this free time now.
Well, you probably have to be spending some more time stretching though, because those you get into those speed workouts. So that's probably something to remind the listeners about too. When you're going on the longer runs and the longer bike rides, stretching is important no matter what. But I think it's even a little bit more heightened when you're doing that the speed work, those burst type works, and that's where you don't want to risk any injury like that.
You could not be more right. That's something that I've always sucked at, that I'm definitely put a lot of emphasis on, is just that leg backswing. So the leg extension has always been brutal for me because I haven't spent as much time as I really should working on that, because honestly, I don't need to a ton. Ironman pace isn't that fast. But that was one of the first things I noticed when I started to pick up the speed again. It's like, okay, you can either get the mobility to have that back extension on the back end of your stride, or you're going to start torquing your lower back and twisting your hips around, which is going to make for some less than fun discomfort down the line. So you're absolutely right. I've been trying to make that more of a priority, and actually some T-spine mobility as well. Just being able to have that range of motion in my upper back is something that I'm severely lacking. But when you get into that faster running, it's something that's pretty important, so you don't start stressing out different parts of your body, or again torquing your lower back, because you don't want to deal with that, or start overstriding because you don't have that range of motion either, which leads to lots of fun lower leg issues. So awesome reminder there.
A lot of world's greatest stretch time.
Oh, they call it the world's greatest. That is not fun. That the couch stretch, I just my quads are like bricks. They do not move. I need to do more of that. Yeah, need to get on the mobility work to attempt to run fast. I was looking at, so my goal race is Triathlon Worlds next year, and I was looking at some of these run paces, and I'm like, oh, so I'm going to have to get better at running, much, much better at running, but there's no shot of getting there. So I got to become a beast on the bike too, because I'm going to have some time to make up on there. I'm not running 5:45-minute miles for 15K.
It's definitely a balancing act when you know you don't have the capability of making up a gap on the run. You've got to get better on the run, but at the same time increase the bike. And that's a big balancing act.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so fired up.
Yep.
You know what? Sometimes you just need a new challenge, and this has me more excited than anything has in triathlon for a long time. So it'll be completely different training, completely different focus, and something a little different. I'll try to swim once in a while, but I mean...
Try to see once.
Speaking of changing it up a little bit, when I got that email this past week that said you've been accepted into the lottery for Escape from Alcatraz, I was like, oh,
yeah,
a little bit of different swimming. So that one we're gonna have to try and fit into the schedule. I haven't made the final decision on that yet. So trying to pick places I haven't been to. I think that's one of the things that Janine and I have talked about. Is like, all right, racing's fine. Let's sign up for races, but let's try and do places that maybe we don't get to as often. And San Francisco is one of those ones we've been to a lot. So we'll see.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's totally an iconic one too, which is wicked. There's so much history there. It looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, except for that swim.
Well, let's jump into some of our usual segments here. We don't have our usual race recaps because there was nothing too exciting going on this weekend. But we will jump into our What the F and social media posted. So I'm going to start with the What the F, because that'll bring us down a little bit, and then we'll have the social media post to bring us back up. Because unfortunately, our What the F moment of the week is another doping violation going on in triathlon. So we had Ukraine's Yulia Yelistratova, who competed at the Olympic triathlon events in 2008, 12, and 16, was banned because of a positive test right before the games. So the test was done on June 5th, 2021, and she tested positive days before the triathlon event was to take place in Tokyo. So, and what I'm finding from like learning more and more from this, just how long it takes to go through the ITA, through the arbitration boards. Like, we're just now getting that doping ban when she tested positive in 2021. So it's, you know what, I think it's a good thing that athletes are getting caught, and it is starting to start a lot of these conversations about doping in triathlon and bring a spotlight to it, which I think is absolutely a good thing if we can all look at these results and be like, no, that's not acceptable. So wanted to get your guys' thoughts on it. Another conviction in triathlon this year.
I don't think it's going to be the last. It just
Yep.
seems like it's just now starting to heat up. And unfortunately, we're going to start to hear a little bit more of it. I had someone ask me over the weekend, how long do you think it's going to be before we hear a ruling on what's going on with Sam? And I think it's going to take a while. I think they're going to be cautious with whatever results they come out with so that it doesn't get stuck in litigation and challenged and just dragged out. But I think we are going to see more and more of this so that, again, they can flex their muscles and say, we're going to crack down on everyone in hopes that it scares enough people off again. But it's going to be an issue. Who knows when the end is, but it's tough to hear it. But at the same time, we've talked about it enough recently, and I don't think it's going away.
Yeah, I'm with Josh. I mean, I don't see why this would be the last case or like an isolated case. I think, unfortunately, we're starting to see now that the sport is not completely clean. And unfortunately, these investigations take quite a bit of time. So, yeah, it's just very sad to see. And I mean, why would you cheat? Like, just don't. I don't know. It's just sad. And I'm glad they caught her. I'm glad they did. But then again, I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to see. Well, I don't want to see a lot of athletes get caught, but I just think that we're going to start to see more athletes get caught because from what happened to Colin Chartier, where I think that was a starting point of something that needed to happen a long time ago, like a cleanse of the sport and everybody taking more serious the anti-doping policies and everything. So I'm glad they caught her, and yeah, I'm always going to advocate for testing and even in age group. I mean, I'm willing to pay $50 more if we get tested and make a fairer race for everyone.
I agree.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. And there's definitely still lots of talk going on. We heard about the latest stuff with Sam Laidlow that was posted right before we recorded last time. And it's still very much in the front of the triathlon news. He ended up archiving the post, not deleting it, but archiving it and kind of moving on from there. But one thing I found interesting was he started talking a lot about the clinic that he goes to that's like over an hour away from his house, which I didn't realize it was the same clinic that Colin Chartier went to and spent a lot of time at. And it's interesting one that he's bringing that up again.
Shady.
Like no one would think about it. No one would know, I guess, really, unless they're within a circle. But now he's like, well, I'm going to this clinic. I'm continue to go there. It's across the border, an hour or so away, because they support me in all my physio and blood work and stuff. And it's like, all of that stuff just seems odd that he's bringing it all up to the forefront without anyone asking, right? I don't know. The whole thing was just really, really odd. Obviously, like, everyone's innocent until they're proven guilty in there, and we don't know what the whole story is. And he's very, very young. So I can absolutely see someone who's young, who's being hit by this. He's on this total high, and then he just like has this outburst because he's so frustrated that people are talking about it. But it was just such a bad move. You got to think this guy's just won the world championships. He probably has sponsors coming to talk to him. Like, the financial side of it, a bunch of sponsors now are going to be like, we're not going to touch you. Like, it's not a good business move for them to kind of touch them. And again, no one would have known about any of this if he hadn't brought it up. Like, it's the whole thing is just so crazy to me. He definitely needs a PR team.
That's for sure. And yeah, I think it's one of those things that it's young and innocent, and at the same time, I think we're probably going to either see the sponsors pulling out, as we have with other major athletes in all sports when stuff like this happens, or he'll get cleared. But how long that takes, that's the part I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I hope it is. Like, I hope he is cleared. I hope we can move on from it. But I'm glad we're having these conversations, and when these doping bans, like with Yulia, come out, at least we know in some degree the testing is working. Obviously, you can beat some of these tests out there, but at least the conversation is out there. People are talking about it, and the outrage is showing, like, as fans of the sport, we won't accept this. We won't tolerate that kind of doping. And hopefully it shines enough of a spotlight on it to scare people who are either considering or are doping within the sport. But just not fun all around. Yeah, I still think back to that Andrew Messick interview where he's like, we had some top level athletes like dead to rights. We knew they were doping, but it went through ITA and they couldn't prove it. So it's, man, I wish I knew what they knew. I'm just so curious.
I want to see the list.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of Andrew Messick, my coach was actually going to reach out to him based on our podcast last week. She had heard it, and we talked about trying to get some clarification on the qualification stuff for 2024. And I'll have to touch base with her to find out and get an answer for everyone and find out if she got a response on the clarifications that we were looking for in terms of world championships.
Yeah, no, I'd be curious to hear a little bit more about it. It's definitely a little convoluted at the moment, but yeah, I guess we'll see how it pans out over the next year. But let's move on to something more positive. Josh, why don't you tell us what's our social media post of the week?
Well, it is the day before Halloween here in North America, and I happen to see one of the accounts that I follow a lot, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners do too as well, Carolyn Carter, or aka LA Triathlete, had done a spoof this week for all of us triathlon geeks and lovers and equipment procurement people. So she used her apartment and all of her gear to start dressing up for Halloween and came up with a whole bunch of different costumes with things that she just had lying around and would wear or use for triathlon. And it's pretty funny. If you go to her page, I think that the cover photo is a safari look, and she's using, let's say, a pull buoy as binoculars, and it's a riot. It's an awesome reel. Really cool stuff how she uses the props that we use on a daily basis in our training and our racing to actually make a very good Halloween costume. So multiple Halloween costumes. So check it out. We'll post it in the show notes. But yeah, Carolyn Carter, the LA triathlete, coming through as she usually does with some of her pretty funny reels.
That's awesome. You got to love it. You know what? You can't take yourselves too seriously. And that's something we try to show with this show too. Just have some fun with it all. Like, it's easy to get sucked into triathlon. So serious, so hardcore, want to get your goals, go hard. But really at the end of the day, It's a fun sport that keeps us entertained and keeps us active.
Have fun, race smart, don't dope.
Exactly. 3 pillars of triathlon.
Hashtag anything is possible.
There you go.
Oh, I like that, Penny. That's wicked. Well, let's jump in here. We will go through some quick rundowns of the racing going this weekend, and then we'll jump onto our interview that Josh and Fede did with Hope. But we actually have some decent racing going on this weekend. A little, after championship season, it starts to slow down a bit, but I think a few people are trying to get some early qualifications for next year. Let's start with Ironman 70.3 in Los Cabos. So some of the top names on there: Trevor Foley, Thomas Rodriguez, Jason West, Jackson Laundrie, Mark Dubrick, got Nick Chase, Eric Lagerstrom, got a few other people in there too. Those are kind of the top names, and a few that we've had on the podcast. So go check out their interviews. And then on the women's side, we've got Paula Finley, Jackie Herring, Leslie Smith, Alicia Hill, Sarah Perez-Sala, Angela Nath, and a number of other women as well. So it looks like it's actually going to be some decent racing out there. And do we want to go? I think there's going to be a bit of a battle between the podcast guests this weekend at 70.3 Los Cabos. What do you guys think?
It's cool to see late season racing like this. I think it's a lot of it has to do with the way things are laying out for next year with the PTO and the Ironman point scheme, and people trying to get a head start on their off-season build and see where they are and qualifications. So I think Cabos is going to be a pretty tight race. I think what Paula's had in terms of a season and then really never taking that much of a break but getting fresh for the last few weeks. I think it's her race to lose. And the way I look at it, she just had a great season, and I think she's going to be ready to go again. And on the men's side, I think Trevor Foley's been training pretty well too. So if he's showing up at a 7.3 or Jackson, it's or Dubrick. I mean, it's
right. There's actually a few in here. Okay.
But I think it's definitely Paula's race to win on the women's side. The men's side's a little bit more up in the air for me.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to give us a name.
All right, I'm going to go with Jackson.
Jackson. Oh, that's what I was going to do.
Fine.
Fair enough. How about you, Fede? Who do you think has it? Let's start with the women in there.
With the women, okay, then I'm going to go with Paula. I think she's going to have, I think it's an easy win for her. She seems like she's in the right spot mentally and physically, just having fun. And, Paula, she's an athlete that suffered from a lot of anxiety, especially in the, I believe, 2012 Olympics. She was like number one seeded. Everyone expected her to win. And or 2016, I'm getting my dates wrong, but there was a specific Olympics that everybody wanted Paula, or was hoping that Paula won, but she couldn't deliver on the day. And she has said before that her ITU days weren't like the brightest, or mentally she struggled with a lot of anxiety and pressure. But now, like with Eric and everything, and she seems like she's having fun, and I think she's in the right spot mentally, especially after the UCI Cycling Worlds and all those video races. I think she's going to win.
Fair enough. You know what? I think Paula's going to win too, but to be different, I will go with, let's say, Jackie Herring. See if she can pull it off and give Paula a run for her money there. Then let's jump to the men's side. So you're going for Jackson Laundry, Josh?
I'll stick with Jackson just because I already threw it out there.
Fair enough. He was going to be my bet for it, but with him gone, I'm going to say, I think Jason West, come through with that run, especially if the conditions are tough. He does well in the heat there, and he could definitely run down a few athletes. But yeah, it's been crazy to see how strong Jackson has gotten on the bike, that he's really, going strong in these 70.3s. But how about you, Fede? Who do you think has it in Los Cabos?
Well, I was going to pick Jackson as well, but now I have to go with my...
It's all about the Canadians.
It's all about the Canadians.
And everything.
In the heat of Los Cabos, though.
Yeah.
I mean, so...
Yeah. So
the Canadian pros are smart. They go escape the winter, go train more places.
There you go. But no, I'm gonna pick my boy Tomas Rodriguez from Mexico. I think being a home race, he's gonna dig deep, and he definitely wants to win that one. I think he has ambitions of winning every 70.3 in the Mexican circuit. So that'll be a good finish for the season for Tomas. So Tomas.
I like that.
That would be incredible. Very cool. Now, we also have some early qualifications rolling in for next year's Kona with Ironman Florida. So a lot of pro athletes are going to try to get that qualification nailed now so that they have a full year to train for it. But I question now, are a few of them jumping into this so that they can start accumulating points for the new Ironman Pro Series? So you could potentially get your qualification here, but it's the first... I don't know, does this year count towards next year's Pro Series? Does that start in 2024?
No, I think it's all 2024 races that count for it. And I think Oceanside is the first one that you can actually get points at.
Ignore me then. Then if I were a pro, I'd be skipping this and starting to collect points next year. But
it's their way to get to Kona points. So
I know. I'm so curious how that all pans out, because it seems if you target Kona, you're not targeting the Pro Series in the same way, unless you're pretty much there's no one that's so far ahead and above everyone that they can go say, oh, I'm going to win Kona, so I'll go do 2 other Ironmans. The math doesn't quite work with 3 Ironmans counting. Anyways, we will see how it all pans out next year, but let's jump into some predictions for Florida. So at the top of the list here, we got Magnus Dietlev, someone who's been coming up a lot in the news, Rudy Von Berg. We got Dennis Chevreau, Greg Barnaby, Matthew Marquardt, Arthur Hassau, Matt Hansen, Cam Worf is going to be out there, Jesper Svensson, Andreas Drates. Like, we definitely have some solid names on here. So it's on the men's side. And then on the women's, we've got Skye Munch, Jocelyn McCauley, Alicia Alberts, India Lee, Jenna Nett, Georgia Pro, Lauren Brandon, Rachel McBride. So we definitely have a few names on both sides here. But let's start this time with the women. When it comes to racing here, Jocelyn McCauley didn't quite have the day she wanted in Kona there, so I'm wondering if it'll fire her up. But I think Skye Munch has this one. Racing down there in Florida, she's been super solid. How about you, Fede? Who do you think has it here for the women?
I'm gonna stick with the Canadians, so I'm gonna say Angela Nave.
Love it. Yeah, she's awesome. How about you, Josh? Who do you got here?
I'm going to go outside, I think, the list of the ones that you said and go with Alice Alberts. I've actually been following my fellow New Englander and Bostonian, and she's been doing really well training-wise and trying to step up her social media game too, and putting out a lot of what she's been working on and training-wise, and coming off of Lake Placid and some really good performances this year. I think she's had the biggest break in training block going into this race that she's targeted for a while, knowing she wasn't going to Kona. And a lot of these other ones are coming off of Kona. So I think she's had the training for this race specifically for a while. So I'll go with Alice as an outsider here.
You know, there's absolutely something to be said for that, not having the fatigue in the legs of a big race, just not even if you're racing up, but the build-up and everything, and then the come down afterwards is huge. So something to be said for a fresh head and fresh legs and really targeting this race instead of doing it a last season kickoff. But let's jump over to the men's side here. I mean, I got to go Magnus. Like, it's hard to see him not crushing this bike and just destroying it. But those are my thoughts in there. How about you, Fede? Who do you think has it?
Well, I mean, I think all three of us we're gonna pick Magnus, but we'll give you that one. We'll let that one slide, and I'm gonna go with Cam Worth. I think Cam is gonna take the win. I don't know why, but I think he's been secretly training for this race.
It seems like he's had much more of a triathlon focus this year and really trying to, it seems like the cycling team gave him a bit of room to really get into triathlon. So I'd be curious to see how he goes. You know, he's always going to have a wicked bike split for sure.
Yeah, and like, especially with Magnus there, those two can get away easily.
Oh, yeah. That'd be very fun to see those tactics play out. I don't know if they're broadcasting this one or not, but it would be interesting to see.
I don't know. I do know that Race Ranger is going to be there, so that's going to make things very fair.
Awesome. Yeah, it's funny with the Race Ranger thing. It sounds like they are using in the pro races, but it's not actually being like used for penalties yet. Talking to some of the pro athletes and stuff, it sounds like they could see if people were in the red, but they weren't really doing anything.
Oh God, that's even worse.
So I'm really curious to see if they will like use it at this race to actually give penalties or kind of tag people to have a closer eye on them from the race refs, because it sounds like in some of the other races, the PTO races used in, the feedback from some of the pros was like we saw other pros like just sitting in the red and not doing anything about it. At the same time, like the refs have to see you to give you the penalty, but I mean, hopefully they'll actually use it to keep an eye on people who are staying in the red continuously. But I think they're still a bit in the testing phase for the pro field. Anyways, let's jump on to you, Josh. What do you think is going to happen on the men's side?
I think we've seen some improvement out of one of our outsiders coming into the year, but after Texas and then I think even in the World Championships, Matthew Marquardt's had a really good year and has just gotten better every race. And I think even though he's young, he's on home soil and I think he's had a great year. So you guys have got the top two. I'm going to go with another outsider and another home soil racer and go with Matthew Marquardt.
I am loving these outside the box picks. That definitely makes it interesting.
I got to do something to make up some ground here in the picks.
Yeah, I think it's going to track those. Yeah.
It's all building towards our second season.
There we go. Yeah, we'll get it all dialed in by then. Awesome. Yeah, it should be some fun racing to watch in there. And as always, curious to see how it all pans out. Happy to see we actually have some racing going on. But we are going to jump into our interview with Hope. Take a listen and see how she absolutely smashed her first Ironman, one of our Mauna team members. Take a listen.
Welcome back, everyone. We've got a special episode today of our profiles. Well, amateur profiles for us. We've got the amazing Hope Hoffman joining us from Team Mauna, who is just off an epic inaugural performance at Ironman California that she'll tell us all about, and her day and the lead up to all that. So she's had quite the 2023 season, and we'll find out all about that. But I'm here with Fede and Hope. Thanks for joining us.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
So let's hear all about your background and how did you even get into triathlon? What led you to Mauna? What led you to where you are today? I mean, you're young. You're just beginning your career. So how did we get here so quickly?
Yeah, so I did my first triathlon, believe it or not, a year and a half ago. I started with a 70.3 Galveston and got into it not really knowing what Ironman was or the triathlon community. Didn't really have an extensive background. Did my first one on a road bike I got for $500. And then ended up placing second in my age group at my first 70.3 on my chinkity road bike. And I was like, this is awesome. And quickly spiraled into doing a lot of racing within a short period of time. And the reason I signed up for that race is I had a friend who was dating a guy that did these, and he basically made a bet with me saying like, oh, like you wouldn't finish, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, when's the next one I'm doing? I was like, had to do it. And ended up signing up, doing the same race with him. Ended up beating him, which was very exciting for me after he thought I wasn't going to be able to finish the race.
Just a little preamble to what happened last weekend too, right?
Oh yeah. So it was a pretty fun race and good start to my triathlon journey. And then from there qualified for 70.3 Worlds. Didn't really know what that was. So did St. George and then did 70.3 Worlds in Finland earlier this year. And then California this past weekend was my first full Ironman and ended up placing 5th overall for the female category and then first in my age group. The race was pretty exciting. The one thing that I do that's a little bit different than most of our teammates is that I race pretty low tech. So I don't have a computer on my bike. I have one. I just refuse to use it. And so I didn't know how well I was doing until I hit the carpet and saw a teammate and he said, you're going under. And I thought I was going under 11 hours. I did not know I was going under 10 hours until I saw the clock. So that was a pretty surreal moment, seeing that, not only going for the placement that I wanted, but also getting a pretty epic time as well. So it was a really cool race. I knew that my swim had been fast. My bike, I was averaging about 21 miles per hour, which was a little faster than I was told to do the bike, but I was feeling good. So just went for it. And then hitting that marathon, although it's considered an easier Ironman run. I would hesitate to say that. It was about ankle deep water for the majority of the run as it was torrential downpour. So that was fun, added a little bit of a challenge there, but was able to hold a pretty decent pace at a 3:47 marathon. So I was pretty pumped about that. And yeah, it was just an epic day. We had a few Mauna teammates out there, which helped on the run, seeing some familiar faces and getting some cheers from the guys. So it was a really incredible weekend and getting to go to the award ceremony, getting my slot for Nice. So taking my 2 weeks of unstructured training, and we'll be getting back into it as we start building for next season.
So to all our listeners, just so you know, this is not the normal route people take to get to world championships. It doesn't happen
Right.
this easily normally. So we've got something a little extraordinary here. Hope, what was your background growing up? I mean, did you play sports? What did you do to like even get like through high school, college? What was your background to get you to this epicness that you're now performing at?
Yeah. So in high school, I was a varsity sport athlete all 4 years. So I was on cross country, track and field, and then soccer. Soccer was my main sport. I did cross country and track pretty much just to stay fit, but was pretty good at it. So definitely liked it. So that was probably, so I have a background in running and then soccer, and then was an All-American in high school as well, and then was going to play college soccer, but then I had a twin sister who joined a sorority, and I said, I want to do that. So I ended up not playing sports in college so I could do Greek life. But the break in having structured sports, I think, allowed me to really enjoy sport again. And so always ran throughout college, did like road races, not super competitively, more so just to stay in shape and have something to do. But then after college, graduated 2 years ago, needed something to focus on and break up the lovely corporate hustle. So started training a little bit more seriously, and then found triathlon and have been running with it ever since.
How'd you find Mauna?
I found Mauna. So my first season, I didn't really have a coach. I knew I had a friend that had done Ironman and he was helping me with my training plans, but there was no training peaks, no Strava. My first races, I didn't race with a watch because I like to race off of feel and train off of feel. I had my Whoop, so we had a little bit of data after that, but knew I was good enough to really have some fun out there and put up some good times if I had a little bit more structure and training. So I found Mauna originally through Alicia. I was looking for a female coach. I wanted someone that had a background in sports, but not only triathlon necessarily, and really found a good match with her and started working with her, then applied to be on the team, was able to join the team, and then have hit the ground running. I had my first Mauna experience at the training camp in Mexico, which was really fun. So has been a great almost year now with Mauna.
So I guess the message is everyone should apply for Mauna before time runs out.
Yes. The training camps are incredible.
Yeah, looking forward to next year for sure. So what would you say, like your progression this year? Were there any goals that you had set out pretty early on? And obviously you've achieved so much, but like what were some of those goals that you put down on paper with your coach and started to knock off as we got going through this year?
So going into this season, I was coming off of an injury last year. After St. George, I tore a ligament in my ankle. So I was in a boot the last 12 weeks of 2022. So in January, running 2 miles was a stretch. We were not doing anything. It was a lot of weight training, a lot of time in the pool, and wasn't cleared to run until about 8 weeks before 70.3 Galveston. So we had a lot of work to do in a short period of time, but I knew I wanted to get a sub 5 70.3 this year, and was able to do that at my first 70.3, which Alicia saw that time and she was like, what the hell is that? And so that was pretty exciting. And then qualified for Finland at 70.3 Galveston. And on top of that, I knew I wanted to get a BQ this year. Ended up doing that 2 weeks before Ironman California, which in hindsight probably wasn't the smartest thing to do, but it all ended up working out. Ended up having a great race in California, but the time, the place that I got was definitely not what I was expecting. I know for a first full, it's pretty difficult to put together a full race. But then as we started getting closer to it, I knew my fitness was really good and started to get pretty confident. And we were at the swim start, and I was talking to a gentleman who was doing his 12th Ironman, going for his legacy spot for Kona. And he was giving me his insights. He was like, don't book it. Really pace yourself on the bike. And I looked at him and I was like, I'm going to win this thing. And he just started laughing. He was like, okay, have fun out there. So definitely love kind of having a soft spirit at the beginning of races.
Did you find him after the race?
I did not find him after the race, unfortunately. It is quite difficult to pick out one of the 2,000 people in the matching black wetsuits.
In the caps and all that, yeah.
And the caps and the goggles. But I know he probably looked up after the race and saw that and was probably like, this kid.
What do you think is your... Go ahead, Fed.
No, I was just going to say that, for the listeners, this is not your average athlete. We know that you are very talented, like your results speak for themselves. I was just going to say that, so now that you're qualified for Nice and we know you're good enough, like any race you show up, you qualify for Worlds. So I guess my question is, and it's a bit of a dare actually, how fast do you think you can go in Nice next year?
That's a good question. I do live in Chicago, so training for terrain is a little bit difficult. I think there's about 7,000 feet of elevation on that course. Would love to do another sub 10, I think with a year, 10, or I guess it's 11 months at this point, of another solid build could keep a consistent pace with that elevation. But I'm changing my mindset from having my world championships being a victory lap and having fun out there to trying to be a little bit more competitive out there. So definitely want to try to go for it at Nice and see what results I can bring back.
Right. Yeah, because I don't know, for me, I know that if I want to qualify for a world champs, I can do that because I'm fit enough throughout the year, and that's not a challenge right now. The challenge would be how fast can I go with when the fast guys are there. So maybe that's a bit of a feel for you to see how you stack along your fellow competitors. I think you would do very well because you're a strong athlete, and probably Nice, even though you live in Chicago, suits you a little bit better than Kona, just because you thrive on those tough conditions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I definitely think that I have a little bit of a competitive advantage when it is challenging conditions. I think that I'm not really a bred triathlete. I always describe myself as an athlete, not a triathlete, just because I don't have a background. If you ever watch me transition, it'd probably hurt your heart a little bit. And so I think that having some fun conditions definitely gives me a little bit of advantage just because I'm pretty tough and have pretty good control mentally, like how I'm doing, and don't really panic in races. So I think that should give me a little bit of an advantage.
Do you see yourself doing another Ironman in 2024 leading into world champs? I think elevation like Lake Placid might be one to think about.
I don't know if I'll do 2 full Ironmans in a year. I definitely will probably do a 70.3 a month or so before Nice, and then one probably at the beginning of the season. But I think 2 may be a little bit more than I'm willing and able to do in a calendar year.
It's a lot, as you know. I mean, for sure. It takes a lot of tax out of you, and especially if you are building towards Nice and what that means to you. I think 70.3 is a good warm-up and like Fede said, you're an athlete and you're going to adjust. And I think that mental game that you have is a huge advantage too. So, I mean, starting in those 70.3s and full sending something like that, find one with an elevation and go for it. Now that's the other crazy part about all this too, is like, most of us are like, can't wait to get our hands on technology and you've got the Whoop, which is cool. I do too. And love that. But you get on a bike, and I've had plenty of races where technology didn't go my way. Something didn't go my way and I didn't know where I was tracking wise. So I did a lot of perceived exertion. So I get that. And it is very doable. Is that something you feel like you're going to continue to do come race day? Or do you think you're going to try and dial it in a little bit more when you get into 7,000 feet of elevation?
That's a good question. I have never been an athlete that uses a lot of technology. I'm pretty good and self-aware of like how things should feel. Like I've never looked at watts or cadence, which I know like is painful for people. So I will probably continue doing what I'm doing until someone tells me I need to make a change, but we'll see. You never know. Might put a bike computer on for Nice to make sure I'm not going to blow up. But if Nice was tomorrow, I would do the same thing. Just have my Whoop and my Garmin for the marathon.
That's pretty. I mean, you've got a pretty good understanding of the run, anyways, too. So I think that probably helps you having that run background. We all know what you did in Chicago with the BQ a couple weeks before. Now, running a half marathon 2 weeks before is probably something that's doable for most, but running a marathon and then another one a couple weeks later on top of the bike and the swim is probably a little out of the norm. But do you think that played to your advantage in the end of it, or do you think it was something maybe you could have gone even faster without the Chicago?
That's a good question. I think that it definitely gave me a big confidence boost going into California. Getting a BQ before, so I think it did like help me know that I was going to be able to put together a good race in California, because I did a marathon earlier this year and did a 3:30:10, and for my age group, you need a 3:30 flat to qualify for Boston. So that was a little upsetting. So it was nice coming in, getting the BQ that I wanted. So I think it did help mentally knowing that my marathon was going to be strong if I could do what I did in Chicago and California.
Very cool. So and then your BQs for 2025, right? So that doesn't have to factor into next year, right?
Correct. Yeah. I won't be doing Boston for a while, but I'll be there.
Let's keep our fingers crossed that they don't change those qualifying times anymore on us. It's like,
I know.
So you said you qualified by what, 7 minutes or so?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that would have been right just enough this year.
I know. I had some friends that qualified but didn't get the slot because of the significant gap they did this year.
Crazy. Fed, do you have another question that you wanted to ask?
No, not a question really. Just a big congrats on your year, and I guess we're gonna. Well, I'm gonna see you in Nice. I'm gonna be there around those dates, so probably gonna cheer you on course. And yeah, very happy to see your progress. And don't lose that fierce mindset, because I know oftentimes we get carried away with numbers and stuff, and yeah, this is this is very refreshing for the audience also. Like, one thing is to train to your numbers, but another thing is when you go out there and race. I mean, you have to go when you have to go. If you stick to your numbers and people are passing you, you need to take a risk sometimes. And it's been good enough for you that you've been winning all these times because you're taking risks. So yeah, happy to see that, and don't lose that mentality, please.
I'll try not to. It's been fun, especially when you're going for placement at races. It was pretty cool, like getting out of like the swim. I knew I was in fifth, and then the bike crept up to second, and then on the run, I was able to get that first place in my age group, and it was pretty cool. At one point during the marathon, I was in second place overall. Unfortunately, there was a few individuals that had a crazy kick towards the end, but was still super excited with the top 5 overall, regardless.
Yeah, we were all cheering and rooting for you, the whole team. And that's a cool part about the whole community too, is just the camaraderie that we all have for each event that everyone's at. And then, like you said, when you're out on a course and you see other teammates and other people, it's pretty uplifting to keep going and push yourself too. So I think some of the questions that we like to ask too, and I think for you, it's even more appropriate for the age groupers, especially getting into the sport. What are some of the things that you've done that you would recommend somebody who's just getting into triathlon do? And what has helped you mindset wise, technology wise, or what in your training, some of the tidbits that you think you could offer some others?
Definitely get a coach. That was something that I wish I would have done sooner. I didn't really know what I was doing, and my volume was way too high when I first started. I thought that I needed a lot, and quality is definitely better than quantity sometimes. And then just being consistent. Like I never miss a day. Like even if I'm not feeling great, I always go out and do something. Like I mean, of course, there's days where I have a hard speed workout and like it just ain't gonna happen. You just gotta have a 10-mile run with some tempo in there. If there's no tempo that day, that is okay. As long as I'm getting in some miles, I'm pleased and happy I did something over nothing. So I think just the consistency is the biggest part. Finding a community as well, especially at the beginning. Take the swim lesson. It's not embarrassing. It definitely will help you because you don't know what you look like in the pool and you probably don't look great. And then just finding other like-minded people, I think, is helpful because it's definitely can be a lonely sport. You're out there for a long time by yourself. So if you can have someone to tag along for a long bike here and there, a long run, it definitely helps make it fun, and it definitely encourages you to get out and makes it hard to skip if you know someone's going to be out there waiting for you.
That's very true. I think consistency is the big part. Coaching, community, all those things are huge to, I mean, have helped a lot of us get going in the sport. So kudos to you to getting and finding that so early on. Now, coming from another cold weather person to another in Chicago, how do you adjust your winter training? And obviously a pool's a pool, we can go inside, but how does your indoor setup look for bike and run? How do you get the miles in and consistency in during the winter?
I am an avid treadmill hater, so I always do my runs outside. Does not like I will bundle up. I've like ran outside in a ski jacket before. I have quote unquote Arctic leggings. I would argue they are not Arctic proof because I'm quite cold still. But biking, I do a lot of time on the trainer. If you've ever been to Chicago, you could imagine what it's like doing long bikes here. They take quite a while just getting out of the city. I live downtown, so it takes about 15 to 20 miles just to get somewhere where you're not stopping every other block. So I definitely do a lot of time inside throughout the year. And then swimming and strength training is pretty comparable. I do a little bit more of that in the winter just because it does get quite chilly up here. So do a slight variation and drop the volume for sure in terms of the biking and running.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar to that too. Although I am the opposite on the treadmill. I like to get my work. I've done some I think Fede knows I've done up to 3 hours on a treadmill before, which is crazy. But
I love the treadmill.
Oh no.
The accuracy, that's the thing. And you talk about consistency. It doesn't matter what speeds and things like that, as long as you're consistently in the zones and things that you're supposed to be in. So that piece of consistency is huge too, is one thing I would add too. But kudos to you for getting out in the winter. Maybe I'll try and do more of that myself this winter. But definitely no on the bike. The indoor bike is a must. So speaking of, if you're on the bike a lot, what is what are you listening to? What are you watching? Are you on Zwift, or is there a go-to playlist? What are you doing while you're doing these longer workouts?
I typically am watching Netflix. I don't Zwift, unfortunately. And I will listen to music too sometimes, but most of the time I'm just watching a movie, or I will binge an entire season of Bridgerton or something while I'm on the trainer inside. So I scroll on TikTok too, like everyone. So as much visual and audio stimulation I can get is great, because I definitely get a little bored inside.
That is true. It's part of the mental game too, though. I think it's a huge help for people who can train inside. It does come. It's almost like a party when you finally get to get outside and enjoy your race and things. All right, so let's get you on the road and wrap things up a little bit. Speaking of, when you are out on these long training rides or out for a race, one of the things we like to ask and find out from our guests is, what's the craziest thing you've ever had to eat or fuel? You lost your fuel, you didn't have what you needed that day. What was the craziest thing you've ever had during a ride or a run?
This was something that Alicia told me I had to stop doing, is I used to eat peanut butter and jellies in triathlons because I didn't know how to fuel properly. So I have made improvements, and now I use gels in the gummies, but I used to race with just a peanut butter, like an Uncrustable. I would just have one of those
in your kit.
Oh yeah. I would have 2 during the race, and that got me through. But she told me I was too fast to keep doing that, so I stopped doing that.
Yeah, you're at the point now where it's every watt's going to matter, every ounce of energy, and you can start to play the tricks of the trade and start to improve even more, because you're going to get to that level now where it's like, well, how do I get more time off? Because you're already at that level where there's not much more to go. So having a coach is going to help there. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. So no more peanut butter and jellies. Lots of gels. I think I had probably almost 20. I think it was 23 gels I had during the full Ironman, which towards the end I was like, oh my God. But I'm pretty good about the nutrition and stuck with the plan, even though it felt like a lot. It was pretty perfect. I didn't feel too bad or feel like I never had enough energy or hungry out there. So the method to the madness works. So definitely.
Was that mostly on the bike?
Mostly on the bike. And I think I had 5 on the run, and then I had 2 before the swim. So the majority of it is on the bike.
Yeah. And I'm sure you had a pretty good week of nutrition leading into it, just to get those carb stores and everything going.
Oh yeah. All the carb loading.
So before we go, what's the A goal 2024? Because you started to talk about, all right, Nice went from a victory lap to now a race that you want to try and compete in. Is that the A goal, is to podium there?
Yeah, I definitely want to try to podium in. Well, that'd be incredible. Definitely, I'm gonna go for it. And then another goal is to do a sub 4:30, 70.3 somewhere. Want to find a fast flat course for next season to do that on, and then I actually qualified for the Beer Mile World Championships, which is in Australia. So I'll definitely do that and see if I can. I did a 7:17, I think, for the Beer Mile. That was it. It was actually in Chicago, so I just went and did it and won the female amateur category. So now I'll get to go race in Australia next year. So would love to do like a sub 6:30 Beer Mile. I think that would be a fun one to get. So lots of fun races. I have to mix in a few fun ones here and there just to keep it lighthearted and fun. So I think that would be a fun goal to go for as well.
Yeah. So what do you do outside of triathlon? What are some of the other hobbies that this crazy athlete has?
There's like the running joke that I'm like the biggest party racer. I am younger and I do like to go to clubs and music festivals and do all the things. But I work for a software company, so that's my side hustle to triathlon, I always joke. And then just like a normal 20-something-year-old life, I like to go, and I went to like Lollapalooza, and we'll be going to Mexico for a music festival later this year. So definitely mix in like the normal people activities as well.
Well, you got to keep
normal
living.
people activities.
Remember those days, Fatty?
Yeah. Those days were, they come in a blur now.
Well, you'll have to hit Fatty up when you go down to Mexico.
I know. I'll be there, I think, the first weekend of December, Fede. So
Awesome.
I'll text you when I get down there.
Yeah, for sure.
So do you have anything left for the rest of this year on the calendar, or are you done?
The only other thing I'm doing is I'm pacing a friend for the Memphis half marathon. But that'll be a fun little weekend. I'm not going to be booking it there, but that's all I have for this year. And then in January, I have the Louisiana Marathon. So that's where we'll kick things off again.
Very cool. Well, congrats on everything in such a short period of time. So we're all excited to watch what's to come still, and excited to be on the same team with you. So kudos to you. Have a great rest of this year. And where can people find you? What's the best spot for people to follow this journey?
I'm pretty good at posting on Instagram. You can follow Hopey Hoff, HOPEYHOFF. And I'm pretty good about posting content from racing and just like lifestyle athlete, what I'm up to. So you can follow me there. I'm on Facebook, but it's not as exciting. Hope Hoffman, but y'all can keep updated with all the racing. I'll post in a few weeks my race calendar for next year. So if anybody would like to tag along, they can come race with me.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate it, and thanks for jumping on with us, and enjoy that massage. I guess that's where you're off to.
Yes, 535.
The recovery piece of this is just as important.
Yeah. Oh yes, that's my favorite part about doing a race. I always treat myself to a massage after.
Well, awesome. Thanks everyone for listening to another episode of Profiles with our own favorite amateur, Hope Hoffman. We'll see you soon.